He has now started a new career among what has been a great life for Matt Flynn. Now on 104.5 FM in Baton Rouge with Jacob Hester, called Off the Bench. And, of course, former LSU and longtime NFL quarterback. And we've known Matt Flynn, I have, since I've known Craig, a very, very young age, when he was a hell of a youth pitcher, football player, and more. Matt, Craig's with us. Paul Catalina, David Smoke, how you been?
I'm great. How are y'all doing? It's great to talk to y'all again.
You too, Matt. Great to have you on the show. So let's discuss your new career, which you've played the game. You have great insight, experience on the game. How did all this kind of come about?
Yeah, so I've been going on the radio with these guys for about 6 years now. Jacob Hester, former teammate of mine at LSU, on the national championship team with me, played 5 or 6 years in the NFL. He came down to Baton Rouge probably 6 years ago to start a show. And I've been going on with him probably an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a week for 5 or 6 years. And about 3 years ago, he joined the morning show with a guy named T-Bob Hebert, who was also a former player or a former teammate of ours. And son of the old the Cajun Cannon, Bobby Hebert. T-Bob just took a job, uber talented guy, just took a job with Barstool. So Jake came to me after T-Bob left and said, "Hey man, have you ever thought about doing this? Would you like to do it?" And my immediate reaction was, "There's no way. I don't have the time to do this." But after talking with the wife and the family, we just decided that it was a great opportunity, and we're really looking forward to it.
Matt, look, first of all, there is not a better personality fit than T-Bob and Barstool, for sure. He's going to do very, very well up there. Is there anything that makes you nervous about it, or having done it for a while, is it going to be easy?
Look, yeah, I am a little nervous of a few things. I'm the guy that comes on a couple of hours a week, and I don't really have to be all that prepared. I'm kind of the guy that just kind of that fights the host and argues against them and does this and that. But I'm a little nervous for the interview part of it, and then the live advertisement reads for sponsors, things like that. I think there's some skill involved with that, so it'll take me a little while to get used to that. But I mean, I don't know how y'all do it, David. You've been doing it for so long. How do you find things to talk about for 3 hours every single day? We'll see.
Well, we're full of it, first of all, and it'll come naturally to you because you played the game, so your opinions are going to be from that perspective, which we don't have. None of the three of us have, and but no, I mean,
I think Matt, you're in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. You just talk LSU. I think you'll be fine, man.
I know, right?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, we'll chop it up about, of course, all the LSU sports. We got the Saints to talk about, Pelicans, but Jacob Hester is great. So he works with the on Sirius with Nationwide. He used to be with the SEC Network on Sirius. Now he does the big ESPN on Sirius. So he covers everything. So he's pretty versed in everything that's going on coast to coast. So it's going to be good to lean on that. So it's going to be really a show that. There's not going to be really any script for it. We're going to cover local. We'll cover national sports, and God knows what else we're going to cover. We're old team. I mean, he's one of my best friends, so it almost sounds like it's just two buddies just arguing and yelling at each other in the locker room when we get on with each other.
That's talk radio, basically.
Yeah.
So that's just going to work perfectly fine. For those interested, June 2nd, right? That's your start date.
Yeah. Next, this coming Monday. That's right. So we'll be on 7 to 10 Monday through Friday, and then I think the biggest following that the show has. I mean, we're on YouTube and get a really good following on YouTube. So I think Jake and I we got a lot of relationships. So we'll have a lot of former NFL, current NFL players, coaches. We're gonna have a lot of cool guests on, and it's just gonna be exciting. There's so many avenues for listeners to have. There's so many they can listen to traditional radio. They can do podcasts, YouTube. They can do there's so many ways to get your content now. We're probably not going to be the most traditional. Let's talk, all the stats about everything. We're gonna give a live look at the player's perspective. Not just like what a player did, but why he did it, and what be the thought process. Really, kind of taking it to the next level of breaking down what happened and why it happened.
So, what is your perspective with college football overall? So much has changed, my God, since you won a national title at LSU, 20 years ago. What is your perspective and how you looked at the over game of college football and where it's at?
Revive Superfood Smoothies. Pill, pour, blend, and enjoy. All within the comfort of my own home.
Revive Superfood Smoothies. Peel, blend, and enjoy. Fast and easy, and I'm out the door.
Yeah, it's it's a question that the answer probably changes year to year right now because it's changing so much. I think at the end of the day, there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad that's happening right now. But the one thing that people can't argue with is the product on the field is incredible. It's as good as it's ever been. I think it's the drama and the headache and the lack of old school traditionalism in college football that kind of bothers some people. Some people it doesn't. But as far as like the NIL, the pay for play, like all that stuff, I was a big proponent of it before it happened. I just felt that the NCAA and how it happened, they did the right thing, but they did it the wrong way. And there's you can't really put the toothpaste back in the bottle, but hopefully things get worked out a little bit better. I just think they left it to the wrong people to make the rules instead of having a set of rules that they're going to launch with. They just kind of open the floodgates and let legislators, let business people kind of make the rules. And now it's kind of an uphill battle to fix it, if it can be fixed, or, if even it needs to be fixed, whatever your opinion is on it. But at the end of the day, the product is great on the field. I originally thought that the pay-per-play was really going to make it a top-heavy league, but it really is kind of given a lot of parity because top athletes, if they're not happy in their first couple of years at these top schools, they spread out and they go to schools all over of all different sizes. So I've felt like it's been a really good product on the field and watching it now. Like I said, I wish they would have handled it a little bit differently. And it was a little bit more controllable. It's got to be a nightmare to be a head coach right now on trying to figure out how to coach, who to coach, how to coach. Do I coach them hard? Do I coach them light? Because I'm always recruiting, no matter if they've signed on the dotted line or not.
Matt, when it comes to that, you guys had a team that you could lose a 5-star guard and then a 5-star guard who just played less would step in. Is that also the thing is like, well, now you had 2 5-star guards, but one of them transferred. The next guy, maybe a junior who was a little engine that could and is not nearly as good. So it's dropped off just enough to bring the SEC a little bit back closer to the pack.
Yeah, it really has. Obviously I'm pretty biased to the position, but no position's highlighted that more than the quarterback position, of course, because there's only one that can play. If you look at offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebacker room, DB room, like there's a rotation. You got your starting 5 on the offensive lineman, but any given game, 7 to 8 guys are rolling through there usually. So there's, you have to have a really good 8 guys going into the season at offensive lineman. But at quarterback, it's very rare for these top schools to have a really good guy behind. LSU was very fortunate when Jaden Daniels was here because Garrett Nussmeier was right under him. Now we've fluctuated some guys since then, but you have to keep your starting quarterback upright. You got to keep him healthy. That's obviously it's a team sport. So you gotta block well, you got to protect well, and then you got to get a little bit lucky. Injuries are part of the game. So, but at the quarterback position, man, it's just hard to look around and say, yeah, we've got 2 studs at quarterback, and if someone happens to our starter, we feel really good about our backup. That's just, you can't see that. You don't see that a ton around the country right now.
You played in the BCS era and obviously had a lot of success, couple of the national title teams that you were a part of, including the great ending to your career there. I still vividly remember the SI cover, Matt, with you and the crystal football, and it's just such a cool shot. But we've now seen what's evolved since then. And what are your ideal postseason thoughts? If it was up to Matt Flynn, hey, you're commissioner of college football, what do you like for the game as far as a postseason goes?
Man. Oh, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? I think everybody's got an opinion about this. I mean, I didn't think there was much wrong with the BCS. I'm very biased because it worked out for us. We're the first ever, 2-loss team to get in and win it. So obviously very biased there. The playoffs to me is great. I don't know. I know there's a lot of talk right now, especially I think it's SEC coaches meetings right now in Destin, Florida. I know Greg Sankey's been talking a lot about what these, like, trying to make sure that SEC and Big Tens are both guaranteed a certain amount of spots.
Right.
There's just so much that, like, the butterfly effect of all those different decisions is so widespread. It's hard to say that there's ever going to be a perfect system in place. At the end of the day, I want to see the best 12 teams. Now, who's going to judge that? I don't think the committee is always very good at that. So I don't know if I would like to see probably some sort of BCS computer system that takes into consideration a lot of different things than a big group of guys at a round table, raising their right hand on which team should be in. So I think there should be some sort of formula involved. We want to see good games at the beginning of the year, right? We want to see the big boys play big boys non-conference games. I hate watching on a Saturday a big school play a little school. That doesn't intrigue me. That doesn't do anything for you. There's always that one Saturday every single season where there's no big games. It's a terrible Saturday to watch college football. So you want to see, like, LSU, we've stepped up and we're playing. Our record's not very good first game of the season, but we're playing Clemson this year. We played USC last season, first game. We just signed a home and away with SMU. Like, you want those matchups. But if the SEC and the Big Ten aren't guaranteed a certain amount of spots, that stuff's going to start leaving. You're not going to get those interconference big matchups. They'll go back to scheduling, Louisiana Tech or whoever it is on those weeks, just so they don't have a chance to get those losses. So, like I said, there's a big butterfly effect to it. I don't have the right answer, but I'd like to see some sort of system in place that really can determine, based on a set of rules, on who the best 12 are, instead of just a bunch of people's opinion.
Matt Flynn with us, 104.5, about to start that talk show with Jacob Hester. He's been doing it, but it launches on June the 1st.
Matt, I was covering your game against the Cowboys in December of 2013. And the second half was masterful. You guys were getting drubbed going into halftime. You come in the game. I've wondered this for a long time. When you are in a zone like you were and the team is just humming, is there any like kind of like out of body experience, or like somebody tells you after, like, hey, you completed 11 passes in a row at one time, and you're like, holy crap, really? Like, do you understand it when it's going on, or you just have to ride the flow?
Oh man, what a question. So there is being in the zone as a quarterback, or really any position, whether it's a pitcher, kicker, or whoever it is. Usually it's a skill position that gets in the zone. There's really no explaining what it is. Everything just slows down. It's hard to get in that zone. The great quarterbacks, the great players can get in that zone quickly, and sometimes they can start the game out that way. But it's just everything slows down. Confidence is at an all-time high. It's like you're playing in the backyard. Like, I remember playing in that game and just, making throws, back shoulder throws that, like, if it was the first play of the game, probably not even trying to make that throw. But you just get confident, you get in the zone, you see things, and then it's just, you almost feel like there's nothing they can do to stop you. Everybody's on the same page. And I think the rest of the team can also feel that, right? They can, it's the way you talk to them in the huddle, the way your body language, things like that. But yeah, what an experience that game was. I had come off a rough year. I started in Oakland, got cut, And then I ended up back in Green Bay and started the last half of that season while Aaron was recovering from an injury. And yeah, it was cool being able to go play the Cowboys, the team I grew up cheering for, of course, being from Tyler. My whole family was there. My brother, who's like the biggest Cowboy fan in the world, he was decked out head to toe in green and yellow. Man, what an experience that was. It was probably, besides the BCS championship and the Super Bowl I was fortunate enough to be a part of in 2010, that was probably the greatest football experience that I had ever had, just because of the rocky road of the season. Didn't know if my career was going to be over or not. Then coming back and being able to do that against the team I loved growing up, and, you know, grew up in Super Bowl parties for the Cowboys all in the 90s. Being able to do that was just a really, really cool thing I got to experience.
So you got the BCS, a couple BCS titles, Super Bowl. So you had a nice run in high school as well, not a state championship, but I guess is that the one thing missing there, the trifecta, right?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Sure. I was there. I mourned it as well.
Yeah, that's the one black guy I got on the career is we lost to Midland High in the semifinals.
Yep.
Yeah.
What a heartbreaker that was. That was I still wake up with some cold sweats for that game.
Didn't you have a broken bone in your foot and you could not be who you were because you had that dual threat? I'll never forget you to bootleg early on that year against Longview and outran everybody. But did that not kind of come back to hurt you in not being full throttle, with all due respect to Midland High?
Yeah, I think I broke so we were playing double round robin that year with us, Lufkin, Longview, and John Tyler. It was on this 14 district. And last game of the season, we were drumming John Tyler, and I broke my foot on right towards the end of the game. So I had to go in that with the dual threat kind of taken off, but just all throwing.
I know that it's probably never going to happen again, and I can't imagine how difficult it was. But that round robin was pretty badass from a high school football fan standpoint to have those programs home and away, everybody. I mean, I know it was grueling, but man, that was some cool. That was cool. That was awesome to watch unfold.
It was that was awesome. It was an ass kicker. I mean, everybody came out of there, bloodied up a little bit, but it was. Looking back on it, it was awesome. There was so much talent, so much D1 talent on those fields during those years. It was incredible.
I just wonder, you being from Tyler, did you ever cross paths with Patrick Mahomes, or have you crossed paths with Patrick Mahomes as being a couple big time quarterbacks from the same place?
Yeah, a little bit. Nothing past a greeting, a hello, like what's up, or seeing them on the field or anything like that. So nothing too much past the standard, hey, how you doing? Good to meet you type deal.
Man,
it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, he of course is having himself an incredible career.
He's doing all right for himself.
He seems to be doing okay.
Yeah.
So
I've heard of him.
I don't. When was the last time that you ever talked to Tim Powers?
Oh, it's been a long time since I've talked to Tim Powers. What was really crazy, a story here, when I went to Seattle and signed with them as a free agent, the starting center there was Max Unger. He was from Hawaii, played at Oregon, and I remember Tim Powers trained us when I was in high school.
Yep.
Helped a lot of my speed and just becoming a better athlete to him. Remember, he left Tyler after my senior year and he moved to Hawaii.
Yep.
And I got to Seattle and I met Max, and Max said when he trained with Tim Powers, and Tim Powers helped him become a better athlete and get the University of Oregon as well. So we had a cool connection there.
That's awesome.
Because Max was about three years younger than I was, and Tim went out there and trained him.
I bring that up. He was a part of Trinity Mother Frances Health System, and he turned you into what you were already a good athlete. But one thing I want to share this story, and I want you to give us your feedback, and we'll let you go. And great to talk to you again. When you were in high school, you didn't, you had Ty Wright. I mean, head to head with you guys, and you at times had to be disappointed. Then you went to college, and there's Jamarcus Russell, and yet you won the national title. And in the NFL, there's Aaron Rodgers, among others. You might be one of the most resilient guys that I've ever known. You never stopped, and you kept plugging, and you've had a hell of a football career in the end, and now a hell of a businessman.
Yeah, it was. I wish I could say it was a lot easier than it was. Certainly, but I just was always around good athletes, like you said in high school. Like I remember Ty Wright beat me out in 7th grade. I beat him out in 8th grade. Then he beat me out as a sophomore. He was the varsity quarterback, and I was the backup. Never played. And then after that, just I remember my dad telling me, he was like, well, you can either, you got 2 choices here, Matt. He said, you can either accept it and, and ride the wave, or you can decide to work your tail off and beat him. And so, obviously I chose the latter.
And you did. Yeah.
And we did. So, we started the last couple of years. We were actually into the junior year. Me and Ty were splitting series into the second game of the season, and then in halftime, the coaches told me to go in there the whole time. But and then college was I signed with Jamarcus Russell. He signed like 2 days after me, like a day or two after signing day, and then obviously first overall pick. Whether I was dumb or overly confident, I thought I could beat him out every single year, and it just didn't work out. And then he entered the draft early, and I got a year to play, and got to the NFL.
Won a national title, won a Super Bowl, as Craig brought up last. And I wish that they could use you as an example in this day and age where everybody just leaves or transfers, or they don't want to have that competition. And not that you might have made different decisions if those rules were around, but I think that's a great story for a lot of young men and anyone to think about.
Yeah, and let me piggyback on what you're saying right there. If you want somebody to cheer for, I know your audience isn't my audience here in Louisiana, but if you're looking for somebody to cheer for, it's Garrett Nussmeier at LSU. The quarterback has the exact same story almost as me, but in this day and age with the NIL, the kid sat down. He was supposed to be the starter when Jaden Daniels transferred in from Arizona State. He stayed, he fought, he learned, he got better. I mean, he goes about his business the right way. He's a good human and a hell of a player. So he's a guy, even if you don't care what LSU does, he's a good guy to cheer for, because he, in this whole world of craziness, he stuck it out and is in his 5th year at LSU.
Yeah, we of course saw him against Baylor in the bowl game, and he lit him up. And that was a very competitive game with what Sawyer Robertson did at Baylor. Garrett is an LSU fan who produces our show. Garrett, want to say hi to Matt?
Yeah, what's up, Matt? No, I was interested that you brought up Nussmeier, because I was thinking, how long does it take to develop and build trust with a new offensive line when you look at the situation that he's walking into with Will Campbell and Emory Jones gone this season?
Yeah, it's really, that's the nature of college football, right? You want the good guys, you want that senior leadership, and then, man, you gotta reload. But you get a couple of good leaders on that team, you can plug and play offensive line as long as you got a couple of anchor guys. But man, they are kind of starting from fresh, and they got a bunch of new faces, but they got a lot of talented guys. Man, it takes a little while. I mean, there's going to be a lot of hiccups. I'm sure spring training there was a lot of should I say hard coaching for those offensive linemen out there, and they'll start figuring out. There's going to be little mistakes early in the season, but as long as they can get in a rhythm, and those offensive linemen, they got to be so in sync with each other when they're passing off stunts and games from those defensive ones, those ETs, the Ts, when they're passing off, they got to be so in sync with each other. So, man, it's really got to coach them well, and you got to have the right guys in there. So we'll see. That's going to be the big question, because loaded at receiver, loaded at great quarterback, really good young running back room, and we got a much better defense than we've had in the last couple of years. So offensive lineman is going to make or break it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it, Matt. Great to have you on the show. Good luck on June 2nd. I said June 1st, but June 2nd when you start that show officially with Jacob. Great to have you on. Great to hear from you. Have a great rest of the week.
Yeah, thanks for the time, guys. I appreciate it.
Matt Flynn with us on Baton Rouge Radio.